This supercar owner who thinks that basically the world belongs to him or her gets destroyed. And the thing is, I actually see this way too often where you see someone driving a supercar and they feel like they're just entitled, right? Now, funny enough, more than supercars, I actually see this situation with people who drive Escalades. I don't know what is up with people who drive Escalades, but for some reason, in my personal experience, they feel like they just are rulers of the road or something, and they just drive like complete and utter D-bags. And the thing is, this supercar, which is an Audi R8 that we're going to be going over, is a beautiful car. Like, I love the Audi R8. I love cars. Like, it's a cool car. But at the same time, to see someone driving this car but being basically a dick really sucks, right? So let's get into it. Park Raving Mad, driver of 130,000 euro slash dollars. Supercar slammed for selfish parking on busy beach day, with everyone saying the same thing. So a supercar driver's selfish parking left onlookers plotting diabolical revenge. The red Audi R8 was pictured straddling two bays at a rammed car park beside a beach in Sydney, Australia. Which again, that is it sucks to see something like this, right? Because look, I would love to take a photo of a random R8 inside a parking lot and be like, oh, that car looks so sick. The owner, lucky for them and all that kind of stuff, right? Give them praises and all that. But then you see a supercar parked where it takes up two parking spots, right? And that's what it means by straddling two bays for those that are listening and whatnot. You have a bright red Audi R8 that costs over $100,000, where pretty much right in the center of it is a white line that splits the two parking spots that is taking, right? It just gives you kind of a disgusting feeling, because you're like, this is the problem when people come into a lot of money. It makes you more of what you already are. So if you're already basically a D-bag before making this money, you're basically going to be just a bigger D-bag, right? So instead of an Escalade, you're doing an Audi R8, The snap was posted on Reddit with the caption, "One of the busiest beach days of the year, and this a-hole parked like this." Viewers were appalled at the entitled driver's actions. One said, "Too many, I guess wankers?" Wait, hold on. Is wanker is that a curse word? So too many wankers getting around these days thinking that they are entitled to just S on everyone else because they have cash. Another wondered, I don't get the logic here. Presumably they're trying to avoid others opening doors into their car, but aren't they just begging passerby to do much worse? This is the interesting thing, right? Which many people who probably drive supercars don't even play into a factor. By you doing this, you're pretty much increasing the likelihood that some random person is going to see this, or a kid is going to see this, or a teenager is going to see this, and they're just going to be like, hey, F this dude, and then just scratch up the car, right? That's a very real possibility. People already do that to Teslas for quite literally no reason. What is to stop someone from doing that when they see this, Someone with that mindset. A Redditor replied, "If you can afford the flashy car, you can afford the respray." That is typically true, but what's interesting is that a lot of people that do drive these types of cars finance them or lease them because they could pretty much write off almost all of the car payment, depending on what they do for work. Others scannously imagine the sort of revenge they might expect from outraged locals. One said, just take your lifted Hilux pickup truck down there and park it on top so that it's still two cars in two spots. Another said some other mad lad in an unrelated thread suggested leaving prawns in the sun, then getting a syringe to suck up the rotten prawn juices and injecting it under the door seals of the car. Okay, now people are just like thinking like way too much into this, but the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised that someone that literally doesn't care about anyone else's things would just key this car, right? Like that's not out of the realm of possibility, you know? That person says that's diabolical though. Another offered, I once heard that snail slug trails on glass are near impossible to remove. Water makes it worse. It would be a terrible shame if some of the car park's local slugs and snails found their way onto the double parked windscreen. Some reckoned a parking fine would not be enough to deter rich drivers from doing it again. One said, I agree. Parking inspectors should have rotten prawn juice on hand. The two-seater Audi R8, described as the everyday supercar, costs from 132,000 euros and goes up to 203 miles per hour. And last month, another driver's selfish parking sparked fury when a photo was shared on Facebook. The Toyota was pictured squeezing between two other cars in blue badge disabled spaces at a shopping center in Sydney. Okay, interesting. Oh, interesting. Wow. Okay. So, a shameless driver sparks outrage after parking his 157,000 McLaren supercar across two disabled spaces. That's even worse. Like, if that person doesn't have like a disabled sticker or whatever on his license plate, ooh. Yeah, so the 204 mile per hour McLaren 570 GT, which did not have a disabled badge, was pictured straddling the two spaces at a shopping center in Melbourne, Australia. See, this is the thing. This is the problem. A lot of people who end up getting the type of money to buy these cars were already D-bags, were already a-holes. So you gotta be like, it's sad to see people that are like this type of personality get these types of cars because you're like, come on. Like, enjoy the car, have fun with the car, but don't treat others like crap, you know? Like, there's no reason for it. You're making supposedly good enough money to afford this car. Why do you feel like you have to be entitled to everything else too? You know? By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go down below or go to 40inbox.com.